Welcome back. Will Worsham joins us now for this week's Speaking Legal Discussion. Good to see you once again.
Okay. We'll talk about that later.
Okay. We have a viewer question, of course. You're invited to send yours in, but this is the one for today. Good question. If I fall in a restaurant and get hurt, is the restaurant responsible for my medical bills?
Oh, okay.
So, yes or no? Is it that cut and dry?
No,
yes
it's really not. Of course, it's never that cut and dry.
It's never that cut and dry.
Or we wouldn't need you if that was the case.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
Exactly. It really depends. I mean, wherever we're talking about a slip and fall case, which is what this is, we're talking about a negligent standard. So, I mean, if it's just you and your own clumsiness falling down and hurting yourself, that's not the restaurant's fault. They didn't create a scenario.
That doesn't mean people don't try, though.
It doesn't mean people don't try. People try all the time. But so if it's going to be the restaurant's responsibility, they had to have done something negligent to do that. Either they didn't have the carpet secured down like it was supposed to, if it was a rainy day like today, if they had let area of the floor become slick or wet, if somebody had spilled food and they had failed to clean that up, and that was the cause of your fall, and it's somehow negligent on the restaurant's part, then yeah, it's possible the restaurant could be not only liable for your medical bills, but they could be liable for the pain and suffering and some extended damages like that as well. So it really just depends on the circumstances of the fall. Just the fact that you're in the restaurant doesn't automatically make it their fault.
Right. Do they rely on eyewitnesses? Because talking about that spill thing, a customer spills before someone in the notices it in the restaurant, someone slips. That's different than if someone says, hey, there's a spill on such and such, go clean it up. You know what I'm saying?
No, yeah, I do, because you're absolutely right. Because just because a hazard exists in a public place like that doesn't necessarily mean that the restaurant is negligent in totality. It depends on whether or not they had notice, whether they should have known. I mean, if somebody just spills their drink and 5 seconds later you step on it and slip and fall, that's probably not negligent on the restaurant's part, just because they didn't have the time and the opportunity. But if this hazard had been allowed to exist for half an hour, 2 hours, if it had been reported to the management and they just not cleaned it up, then maybe that is negligent on the restaurant's part for allowing the hazard to exist. There's also what's known as the open and obvious doctrine. So if you've got a clear hazard that anybody, any reasonable person, by paying careful attention, would know is there, and you just walk into it anyway, no, that's not the restaurant's fault either, even if they necessarily allowed that to persist, because you should have known better than to. It's like the open manhole on the street. You know, it's like,
you might want to go around it a little further.
Don't step in it. It's open and it's obvious, and if you're not being careful enough to avoid open and obvious dangers, it's probably your own fault, not somebody else's negligence.
What all goes into proving this, one way or the other?
Proof. And here's what everybody thinks is you've got to have pictures and documentation. That's not true. Sworn testimony is always evidence. So you can take statements from other patrons in the restaurant. You can take depositions from the employees at the restaurant. Your own testimony can be considered as evidence for the record. Now, obviously, if you've got pictures or better yet, video, that's even better. So that documentary evidence is better evidence than eyewitness testimony, but it's not necessary to have.
If you just have eyewitness and you've got two different stories, do they take enough people to where they can make the decision?
Their credibility of the witnesses is always something that the finder of fact has to judge, whether that be a judge or a jury. They have the responsibility to look at the witnesses testifying on the stand and decide who they think is more credible and who they believe.
And security cameras, I would imagine people probably request and say, I can prove to you what happened here.
And once again, we're back to that video, documentary evidence, absolutely.
Deciding which one. But then you need to decide, I mean, seriously, you see reports on national television about people who almost make a career out of it.
They'll walk in, this place or that, the water was too hot or whatever.
And, it's just, it would be a tough place to be as a business owner. What's your advice to those business owners other than tidy it up?
Well, yeah, first of all, don't be negligent.
Floor is wet,
Don't be negligent. Train your employees well. Keep your facility clean. But I am a huge fan of security cameras. I love security cameras.
Right.
There's some great ones out there that they're not cheap, but they're not incredibly expensive. But what's really cool about them is they'll record to the cloud. So it's not dependent on any local server. It just records up to internet service. You can log on from your phone and look real time at what's going on in your place of business, even if you're not there.
That would save a business a lot of money. Could. It sure could.
And you can have them record back, save that data, that video for 7 days, 30 days, and so you can look back and go, oh yeah, there was something. So if your employees report an incident, you can then go back, look at the footage, save it for later just in case.
All right, good
All right,
advice.
Will, thank you.
You have a legal question for Will, email him at wworsham@color10.com. He'll answer your question on the show. Good to see you as always.
Nice to
Glad to be
see
here.
you.
Thank
Good
you.
advice. Okay, coming up, auctions, manicures, martinis, lunch, and a golf tournament.
Oh, hey.
I'm loving this. All to help provide employment to others. We'll tell you about it next. All right, very good.
Do you have trouble falling asleep or wake up with a sore neck or headache? Then it's time you discovered MyPillow.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Just like you, I had problems sleeping. 10 years ago, I invented MyPillow. It took me 2 years to develop because I wanted to have everything you would ever want in a pillow. I made sure that you could adjust my patented fill so you could have the exact support you need as an individual regardless of your sleep position. I also wanted a pillow that would last, so I made MyPillow machine washable and dryable. I back MyPillow with a 10-year warranty and a 60-day money-back guarantee. Not only that, I do all my own manufacturing in my home state of Minnesota. Now I'm proud to announce that MyPillow is the official pillow of the National Sleep Foundation. I personally guarantee that MyPillow will be the most comfortable pillow you'll ever own. Go to mypillow.com or call now to order one of my